Hello, Millwall fans. Paul Eiffel here. It's time for Chat with Chaps.
Post-match analysis for Chat with Chaps. We're finished in Oxford. I think it's called the Kassam. Oxford 1, Millwall 1. Now, before we get into any analysis on the game, obviously you just saw my my new little cheeky intro. And I just want to say a massive thank you to two good friends of the show. First of all, Jeff, thank you so much, mate, for the music. Brilliant little jingle there. So thank you for that. And Stuart as well, mate. Thank you very much for the animations. So yeah, just want to give a massive shout out. You both did that for the kindness of your heart. So thank you. And that's going to be our new little jingle with Mr. Eiffel obviously playing a guest role. Just before, again, we get into it, just if you haven't checked out the new Ronnie Ball video called Once a Line, hopefully a new series that we're going to be starting out and doing quite a bit more of, then please check it out on the channel. I'll try and link to it if I can. Was an absolute honour to interview Ronnie Ball at the Den as well in the Spitfire bar. So make sure you check that out. Anyway, let's get on to the game yesterday. I think my overall take is it feels like 2 points dropped. Personally thought that Oxford, especially in the first 60 minutes, were the poorest side we played all season. They came into that game, I think, with 6 points from their last 10 games. They were 23rd in the form table. They were there for the taking. And I think what we'll go on to sort of analyse is everyone knows watching this that I'm a Neil Harris fan, but he can still make mistakes. And for me, he got it wrong yesterday in the second half. And we'll try and break that down. I wasn't there because it was Mrs. Chaps' birthday yesterday, so I certainly wasn't allowed, which is annoying because Oxford is a game that I would have gone to. But I wasn't there. But for those that were, I believe there was a lot of boos at the end of the game, and I don't agree with that. If I'm honest, it's just my opinion. But I don't think we're there yet. Yes, it's frustrating not to get 3 points yesterday, but to boo was a bit over the top for me personally. But look, let's get into it. And the graphics back this week. So this was the lineup that started the game yesterday. So a couple of changes from the side that was going to play in the game that obviously was called off at Portsmouth. What shambles, by the way. Really feel for the fans that had to endure that, get all the way in there, wait in there for ages, and then for it to be cancelled. So hopefully the two clubs can sort that out and make sure that fans are rightly compensated. So that was frustrating. But it meant we had fresh legs. Oxford didn't. They played in the week. And that's why I felt it was a real good chance to go at them. But anyway, the lineup was Lucas Jensen in goal, back four, right to left, Ryan Leonard, Sean Hutchinson, who wasn't in the squad in midweek, starts with the captain's armband, Javid Tanganga, Joe Bryan, Casper Denor, George Savo in the middle. On the right, Romain Esse. On the left, Femi Aziz, who came in, was also not due to... Was he due to start Tuesday? I can't remember. Honeyman, who wasn't due to start. I think Bradshaw was going to start Tuesday. And then Josh Coburn. So that was the 11. I didn't mind it, given what we had available, particularly at the back with no Cooper. Didn't mind that. And, looking at the bench, you've got Ivanovic, Langstaff, Imaku, Bradshaw. It felt okay to me. So that's the lineup that started the game. And looking at my notes here, so Tanganga, real silly foul to give away on just 2 minutes. Their number 44, Dane Scarlett, who I think we've looked at on loan from Tottenham, rolls him, and then he picks up that booking. Now, I can't quite work out, and I've seen so many different takes on this, and it's probably been accurately posted somewhere, whether it's Japhet Tanganga who is banned for the next game or Ryan Leonard. I think it's Jaff, but I don't know. We shall see. I've actually got the pleasure. I'm recording this on Sunday. I've actually got the pleasure of meeting Jaff tomorrow. I've sponsored his kit for the season, so looking forward to having a chat with him, and I'll be lecturing him about how many bookings he picks up. Obviously, I won't be. Anyway, so he's out of the next game. I think so, a real stupid booking. But what I will say is he managed he managed the game very well, considering he was on a booking from the second minute. From the resulting free kick, they win the header, and the free kick went wide. And then from that point onwards, other than one moment which we will talk about, we dominated the first half. We absolutely dominated the first half, and without creating lots of clear-cut opportunities, but just the amount of times we were getting into the box. In the first sort of 10 minutes, there was a couple of nearly moments between for Coburn, the ball just wouldn't fall for him. They then have probably, if I'm honest, probably the clearest chance of the game that wasn't taken, where Joe Bryan, and we're going to talk about Joe Bryan, but just a sloppy, stupid moment from Joe Bryan, just lack of concentration, gives the ball away. Then the player he gives it to then does him again. And if it wasn't for Casper De Norre doing brilliant work to get back and put the player off, and maybe even took a nick, and then a super save from Lucas Jensen, a really, really good save. If you see it from the angle right behind the goal, it's a brilliant save, because we could be 1-0 down. It just felt that about 15, 20 minutes was like, look, we're just dominating the ball here, but we need to just move it quicker. And then I felt we did. So the chances started to pick up around the half an hour mark. So the first one that I've got down, George Saville, who I thought had a really good first half, found space. He seemed to be in a more advanced position, I felt, for the first half. He found space on 33. Really good ball cut back across. And Femi Aziz, I don't really know what he did there. He just didn't make any contact with it. Couldn't connect with the ball. It then goes right across the face of goal. Joe Bryan does well then to sort of step in and win the ball with his high energy press. And then has a shot and we win a corner. Joe Bryan is at the centre of a lot of good things that we do. And then he's also at the centre of stupid mistakes. For me, he has a role to play in the goal that we concede in the second half, which we'll come on to. But Joe Bryan, defensively, he costs us so many times. He really does. But then offensively, it's very easy to be blinkered and to be like Joe Bryan, what I've seen, all sort of pub player and all this kind of thing. Defensively, at times, he looks like one. But you have to be balanced. And going forward, he does do a lot of good. The amount of times yesterday he was providing overlapping runs for Femi Aziz, which sometimes he didn't use him. And actually, our corner comes from Aziz and Bryan sort of connecting. But we'll come on to that in just a second. 37, Casper De Norre has a shot that's blocked. 38, Coburn does well, gets into the box, pulls it back. Honeyman just can't quite get his toe on it, and then we get a corner. And then the goal comes from some really good play. No, actually, before that, Aziz does really well again, and we come close. Aziz, brilliant. He sort of spins on the ball, drives at the defenders, plays a 1-2 with Esse, and we go close and we get a corner. Femi Aziz in the first half was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding, I thought, in the first half. He was brilliant. And the goal comes again from him. So big credit again from Lucas Jensen. If you watch it back, it's a brilliant ball. I'm assuming he means it. Sweeps it out to the left-hand side. Femi Aziz picks it up and just drives at them. No one likes a winger, a forward player running at you with pace. And he was really good at that yesterday. Joe Bryan makes a run down the outside of him. Femi Aziz chooses not to use him, but it's a decoy run. We win a corner from that. And then from the resulting corner, the ball comes into the box. Don't know what Matt Phillips is doing, just leaves Tanganga, all ends up. And it's a really good header from Tango at the back post. I think it was our 7th corner at the time. And we go 1-0 up. And we probably deserved to go 1-0 up on the balance of play. Of course, they had the other probably best moment of the game in the first half where Jensen made the save. But territorially, we just dominated. And it showed here in this image on screen. So Jesper pointed this out yesterday. It was such a game of two halves. And we said this about the Sunderland game, that it was a game of two halves. Just unfortunately for us, it was the other way round. So in the first half, we had 64% possession, 10 shots, 2 big chances, 131 passes, 74% pass accuracy, 7 corners, 0.87 expected goal. We just dominated that first half. And, you know, we've got a second goal. We didn't really create the chance to. I think Neil Harris in his post-match alluded to, we should have got the second goal, but I don't really think we created that chance. But we go in at half time looking very, very comfortable. However, what happens at half time, I think, is key because Josh Coburn, who he, he leads the line very well. He is, for a Neil Harris style of play, he's the perfect number 9. And I thought he had a decent first half, but he picks up an injury. Also, Harris alluded to that he's in a protective boot, and we don't know what the extent of that injury is, which is a real concern. Coburn, proper Millwall player for me. I've said it before, we should go all out to sign him. But the one thing that concerns me is his ability to stay fit, because it looks like this could be the third injury he's picked up already. Does that mean we can get him cheaper? Don't know. We'll have to see. But he goes off at half time. Now, Harris, we all knew that he was going to bring Bradshaw on if Coburn had to go off, because Harris quite clearly believes that Bradshaw is his second choice striker. Now, and he thinks he's a better option than Langstaff or Ivanovic. That's his view. He's the manager. For me, that shouldn't be the case. And I think we saw that when Bradshaw came straight back into the team after being injured against Stoke. Now, I like Tom Bradshaw, and I think what's happening is there's certain elements of the fan base that are now resenting Tom Bradshaw because he's higher up in the pecking order in Harris's mind over Ivanovic and Langstaff. Now, for me, I think we just need to not have short memories, because there were a lot of games in the last few years where we have just played Bradshaw 90 minutes every single game and pumped balls up to him and just basically fed off scraps. And we need to thank him for that, because he did a job for this team for a long time. For me personally, as much as I like Bradshaw, and he's also a top bloke, I personally think he's now not second choice striker. And for me, I think I saw enough in Langstaff in the games where he started to suggest that he should be ahead of him. Now, Harris doesn't see it that way. I don't get that, and I can't explain that. The only thing I could possibly think of is he thinks that Bradshaw is a better defensive striker, and at 1-0 up, we should be able to see the game out, because we've been good at doing that, especially against a side that created next to nothing in the first half. That's my working hypothesis as to why he brought Bradshaw on over anyone else. And it's this whole, we're having this debate in our group chat this morning. It's this whole debate of proactive versus reactive. You know, what he could have done is said, you know what, we go for the kill here. This is a side that got no confidence, really poor form. You know, haven't won it. I think they got Middlesbrough stuff 6 past them last week. You know, they played in midweek, so they're tired, and gone for the jugular. And this is where, like I said, massive Harris fan, want him to sign a new deal, to be honest. We'll come on to that. But he made a mistake for me yesterday, and bringing on Bradshaw wasn't the right one. And then when he had brought on Bradshaw, take Honeyman off, who, in my opinion, had a poor game yesterday, and bring on Ivanovic or Langstaff. Do it early, you know, apply that pressure, go to the 4-4-2. And that's where, for me, it all went wrong from that second half. And the other thing as well we've got to remember is it was a game of 2 halves, right? Now, the Sunderland game was a game of 2 halves. And how did we get back into it? Well, we got back into it by the equalizer came from a move that combined Imaku, a sub, Langstaff, a sub, Ivanovic, a sub. All of those players were involved in that. And yet none of them got a look in today. This is the bit that I just don't quite get. And the only hypothesis I can have is that he felt we could see the game out 1-0 and shut up shop with Honeyman and Bradshaw doing the pressing. Obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and that decision was wrong. So that's kind of, it, isn't it, in a nutshell. But the second half obviously commences. They make one change as well. I think it's El Mizuno comes on for Volks. And I've got to mention this, right? I don't know who the other commentator was, but I was watching it on Sky, and Chris Iwelumo he has to be one of the most biased commentators. I looked, and he didn't play for Oxford. It's about one of the only clubs he didn't play for. But I've never heard a commentator. I honestly thought I was listening to Oxford commentary because he was almost willing them to get a goal. Just some of the comments that he was making, it was bizarre. I'm sure those of you put in the comments, put in the chat, guys, if you you know exactly what I'm talking about, because it was bizarre at times. The amount of positivity towards Oxford. You know, at one point he was willing Tanganga to get a second booking. He was like, "It's got to be booked if the ref sees that." And I'm like, oh. Anyway, side note. I thought for the first 10, 15 minutes, we looked okay. They had a lot more of the ball. First 10 minutes, Mr. Uwalumu was saying how much better it is from Oxford, and that but all they were doing was playing around at the back. They weren't really doing anything, or getting beyond us or anything like that. Leonard gets booked for a foul on Plaqueta, who was a tricky customer for Leonard, but I thought Leonard did really well. And I always felt that would be a really interesting battle because Plaqueta's not a bad player, but I thought Leonard dealt with him pretty well most of the game, in fairness. They make a few more subs. Mark Harris comes on. Obviously, we know Neil Harris is a big fan of him, having managed him previously at Cardiff. On 67 minutes, we get a throw in. You can hear the Millwall fans really, really loud over by where Ryan Leonard was taking the throw. It ends up coming back to Ryan Leonard, who puts a super ball in. And this is where we have to do better. Like even Iwalumu was saying that Bradshaw's got to go for it. He's got to try and anticipate it. And this isn't a Bradshaw bashing, by the way, because I'm very thankful for what Bradshaw's given to the club. But for me, he's not second choice anymore. And I think there's nothing wrong with saying that. Again, 60, 70 minutes gone by. They hadn't really created anything. They had a lot of the ball. 79 minutes, Sean Hutchinson has to go off. Sounds like he had a bit of cramp. Muzza comes on. And like I said, I don't know who is out next week, whether it's Leonard or Tanganga. But assuming it's Tanganga, that could mean if Hutch is not fit, that we have a centre-back pairing of Murray Wallace and Wes Harding, who Harris clearly doesn't like, or he puts Leonard in the middle and put Danny Mack at right back, which is what I would personally do. Because I tell you, if Coventry hit form under Fat Frank and obviously Joe Edwards, they will destroy some teams because they've got a lot of firepower, and I'm a bit worried. Anyway, 83, 85 minutes I've written down here. Joe Bryan gives the ball away again. Good block from Murray Wallace, and you're thinking we're going to see the game out, but we don't. And on 85 minutes, they get the equaliser. Their first proper real moment in the second half. It's a really good finish, but again, it should never happen. It's the second phase. The first phase comes in, and Joe Bryan should clear the ball properly. He doesn't. Yes, we have loads of other opportunities to clear the ball. It's actually Honeyman who clears the ball. It's a terrible clearance. If you watch it back, just plays it straight back to their defender. The ball then comes back in. And then again, Joe Bryan is the man that has to close Woodrum down. He doesn't. Woodrum, therefore, has a lot more time and space. And don't get me wrong, it's an outstanding finish from the lad. Really, really good finish from him. And they score. And it was a brilliant goal. And then from then on, up until the last minute or so, where we forced a couple of corners, I thought we could lose it. I thought Oxford, their towels were up. They were in the ascendancy. We looked all over the place for 3 or 4 minutes following the goal. And they have a penalty appeal. It never was. It should have been booked for diving. The referee, by the way, look, I've seen worse, don't get me wrong. But little things like, obviously the lad Long, who I felt for Long. I think he had a bad hand injury in the first half, and then the second half, obviously he got his eye socket opened up, so he went through the wars yesterday. But in the first half, I don't care whether he's an Oxford player, a Millwall player. He goes down with a hand injury. He needs to be treated. He doesn't need to be treated on the pitch. Why is he allowed? Like just little things like that. Harris brings on Langstaff in on 90. Just I don't really see the point of that, to be honest. At that time. There's a ball played over top on 92 where Bradshaw, he does well to win a corner. But, for me, if that's someone with a bit more pace, it could end up being something different. And then we have a corner, and then the game is seen out, and it finished 1-1. And it's, for me, overall, it is, look, any point on the road is good. And you have to take the emotion out of it and contextualize it all. We're now 9 games unbeaten. We're still sitting in the top 10. We're not in a bad position. And Neil Harris has made mistakes yesterday, but for me, he doesn't deserve to be booed. And I'm telling you, he will not be happy with being booed. And he's not bigger than the club at all. He's not bigger than the club, but he also needs to take, if he's going to be given flack for one performance, which when you actually think about it, we got a point away from home in the championship. Yes, it could have been 3, but reality is it's still a point away from home. And the other thing is contextualizing it in the bigger picture. We're 10th or whatever we are in the top 10, and Neil Harris has got 1.7 points per game since he's come back to the club. I mean, this is where it's. I do think some of our fans need to be a little bit more patient, in my opinion. Again, if you disagree with that, let me know. But I just think that in the bigger picture, there's more to be talked about. Because it's interesting, because obviously Harris comes out post-match and he says, I can't remember the exact words, but he basically said something on the lines of, in January, we need to get the right profile of player through the door, because we've been scoring a lot of ones recently and that needs to change. So to me, the fact that he's come out and said that, and the fact that he continues to play Bradshaw, suggests that he doesn't rate Ivanovic, Imaku, and Langstaff. That's the only thing I could possibly think of. And again, my opinion, I disagree. I think they've all got a role to play, and at least one of them should have come on a lot earlier. But that's clearly Harris's view, and that isn't going to change. January is going to be interesting, because I think it will bring to the fore a lot of the evidential clashing between him and Gallen, that I'm led to believe exists, because Gallen obviously thinks he's recruited players that have the ability to do the job, and that we have Imaku there as well, and obviously Harris doesn't. And where do you sit with that? Because I idolise Neil Harris, and for me, he's an absolute legend. But I think he's wrong on this occasion. I do think that Imaku, Langstaff, and Ivanovic have got a lot more to offer than he's currently allowing them to. But it's a weird dynamic, because for me, I don't think any other manager gets anywhere near what he does out of the players he puts on the pitch. The likes of Honeyman, Saville, Bradshaw, the players he puts out on the pitch, Leonard, I don't think anyone gets as much out of them as he does. But another manager might get more out of the ones he doesn't play. And that's just like a really interesting, is it paradox? Is that the right word? Don't know. But yeah, there we go. That's kind of my take on it. I think, to summarize, it feels like 2 points dropped, but any point away from home in the championship's a decent one. Those that were quick to boo Harris and the players, I disagree with, because you've got to look at things bigger picture. We're sitting in the top 10. We're 9 unbeaten, and he's got 1.7 points per game. The thing that I find more concerning is the undercurrent of this that's went away for a little bit, but this undercurrent of, there is clearly something that's, the players that are being signed are not aligned to what Harris wants, and vice versa. And I don't really know where that ends up. We shall have to see. By the way, just to show this as well, put it on the screen here, you can see this was the second half stats, and 0.04 expected goals from us, only 1 shot, none on target, 38% possession, only 89 passes made, 10 fouls committed. When you compare that to the first half, it was just night and day. And that wasn't good enough. And I think we were the makings of our own downfall yesterday, unfortunately. In terms of man of the match, it's a difficult one to give. I don't think anyone played really, really well for the overall 90. I'll probably just give it to Femi Aziz, who I think, what an uptick in form from him. It's just amazing what a bit of confidence does, doesn't it? He's really starting to look like a really good championship player, good age, can use both feet. He looks like an excellent signing from the club, and certainly the sort of player that we need to be looking to bring in and develop. And again, he's developed that defensive work that Harris wants, and I think he looks excellent. So for me, I'd probably give it to him. I also want to give a shout out to Lucas Jensen for a really good save and obviously starting the move that led to the corner that led to the goal. And then Tanganga, I think, one or two little mistakes with booking in the first half, but obviously scored the goal. And I thought overall he looked very cool, calm, collected, and he can make any defender that plays alongside him, in my opinion, look a lot better than they are. So honourable mentions for them. Thought there were some poorish performances. I don't think it was Honeyman's best game. I don't think it was obviously Joe Bryan's best game. We talked about it. And I don't think he played poorly, but in keeping of his recent performances, I think Casper Denor was a little bit below par, his own standards. Don't think he played poorly, but I don't think he was necessarily at the levels he has been recently. So, there we go. That's kind of my take on it. And, we now roll on to two very difficult games with Coventry and Sheffield United. And I think it will, again, show us where we are. I'd probably take 3 points now. You'd rather win one than two draws. Obviously, 4 points or 6 would be lovely, but I would probably take 3 now. And, if you go into those games with no Coburn, no Hutchinson and Tango banned, and obviously Cooper's still out, the starting 11 starts to look very different again, doesn't it? But guys, I'm going to leave it there. As always, thank you very much for watching and listening to me. Please do, if you haven't already, hit the like button, make a comment. Obviously, Joe started a trend with a live in the week saying that his goal was shit. So if you want to just put in my hat shit or Mike looks dodgy or whatever, any comment in the chat helps the algorithm. And we're doing really, really well. There's a lot of support for the channel, and I appreciate every single one of you that takes your time to listen to me. Well, I've been talking now for 27 minutes about Millwall. So thank you. Please do subscribe. Please share it. All of that good stuff. It really helps. We're really getting somewhere. Really looking forward to sharing around Christmas time where we're at in terms of what we've made so far for charity. And we'll continue to do so for the rest of the season. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you again to Jeff and Stuart. And see you down at Den on Saturday. Bye for now.